Hi friends, today myself Nyamatulla and Patel. So today we'll cover the last point in the module 4, that is Bayesian belief networks. So we'll continue to the last topic of module 4. Before going to the next point, last point, one point was remaining in the previous video lecture was characteristics of Naive-Bayes classifier. So Naive-Bayes classifier generally has the following characteristics. They are robust to isolated noise points because such points are averaged out when estimating conditional probabilities from the data. So effect of noise is very much less in Naive-Bayes classifier because such points are averaged out whenever we are finding out the conditional probabilities from the data. Naive-Bayes classifier can also handle missing values by ignoring the example during model building and classification. So if there are any missing values in the data or during the model building, so those missing values can be handled by Naive-Bayes classifier. They are robust to irrelevant attributes. The attributes they are robust means they will not take into consideration with respect to the irrelevant attributes. Correlated attributes can degrade the performance of the Naive-Bayes classifier because conditional independence assumption no longer holds for such attributes. Correlated attributes can have a negative impact on the Naive-Bayes classifier because these correlated attributes has an impact on the performance because the conditional independence assumption no longer holds good for correlated attributes. Next, coming to the Bayesian belief networks. What is a Bayesian belief network? Bayesian networks represent an advanced form of general Bayesian probability. So BBN, or it is called as Bayesian belief networks, they are the advanced form of the Bayesian probability. A Bayesian network is a graphical model that encodes probabilistic relationships among the variables of interest. So whatever the variables are present and whichever variables are required, for those we will be encoding with the probabilistic relationship. A Bayesian belief network or BBN or simply Bayesian networks. Bayesian belief network is also called as BBN or is also called as Bayesian network provides. What it provides? It provides a graphical representation of the probabilistic relationship among a set of random variables. When you have a set of random variables available, so now in Bayesian belief networks, such random variables can be represented using a probabilistic relationship. Using a graphical representation, there are two key elements of the Bayesian network. One is a directed acyclic graph, that is called as DAG. So directed acyclic graph DAG encoding the dependence relationship among a set of variable. This graph, a directed graph, represents what it represents. It represents the dependence relationship among a set of variables. And second one, a probability table associating each node to its immediate parent node. So now probability of each child node. What is the probability of a child node depends on its parent node. Let us consider three random variables A, B and C, in which A and B are independent variables and each has a direct influence on the third variable C. So now this is over here. So this is figure 5.12 where A and B are independent variable, but they are having, now where C is having, what C is doing? C is having a direct influence from A and B, or A and B is having direct influence on the C1. Next, so the relationship among these variables can be summarized into a directed acyclic graph. So this what it represents, directed acyclic graph, or called as DAG, where A, B and C are the variables where A and B are independent variables, where A and when C is having direct dependency from A and B. Okay, so each node in the graph represents a variable and each arc asserts the dependence relationship between a pair of variables. So now each node A, B and C, each node, what it does, each node represents a variable. Each node in the graph represents a variable, and the arc represents what it represents. It represents the relationship between the pair of variables. If there is a directed arc from x to y, now x is directly connected to y, then x is parent of y. Is it correct? So now there is a direct dependency from x to y. So now there is an arc from x to y. So it means that x is the parent of y and y is the child of x. Furthermore, if there is a directed path in the network from x to z, so in between there is a there is a network. Consider, for example, we have one more variable or one more node which is represented by z. In that case, what if there is a directed path in the network from x to z, then x is what? X is the ancestor of z, and while z is called as descendant of x. So now let us take figure 5.2b. So now where D is having direct relationship to C, C is having direct dependence on D, and C is having direct relationship with A and B, or A and B is having direct dependency on C. So now what? A is descendant of D, because from D to C, C to A. So A is the direct descendant of D, and D is what? D is ancestor of both. D is an ancestor of B. So now D is what? D was ancestor of B, and D is also the ancestor of A. Both B and D are also non-descendants of A. So now this R is not descendant or not related to A. So now again, A is conditionally dependent of both B and C, both B and D given C, because the nodes for B and D are non-descendants of A. So now what? A is conditionally independent of both B and D. Now A is what? E is conditionally independent. It is not independent of both and B and C given C, because this is non-descendant graph. So A is dependent only on C, and that again depends on D. So now let us take one more representation. The conditional independence assumption made by a Naive-based classifier can also be represented by a Bayesian network. Conditional independence is assumption made by a Naive-based classifier can also be represented using a Bayesian network as shown in the figure 5.12c. Okay, so where this x1, x2, x3, x4 and x of D, all they are directly connected from y, or y is the parent of all these things. So is x1, x2, x3, x4 up to x of z, these are called as is the attribute set. Beside the conditional independencies, conditions imposed by the network topology, each node is also associated with a prior probability. So now in the graph we are representing conditional representation. Some arc I am drawing, I am showing some dependencies, and there are some conditions also, because of which we will find out conditional dependencies also. So now every node will also have, each node is also associated with a probability table. So now if x is not having any parent, then that can have only one prior probability, that p of x, because p is not having any parent. So then what is the probability of x? Probability of x is just p of x. Now if x has only one parent y, now if the parent of x is y, then the table contains conditional probability p of x by y, because the y depends on the value of x depends on the value of y. If x has multiple parents, now if a node is having multiple parents, so now this node is having multiple parents, Okay, so A is also parent of C and B is also parent of C. So now when a node has multiple parents, consider for example X is having multiple parents up to y1, y2, then the table contains conditional probability P of X by y1, y2, y3 up to y of n. So now here what is the probability of A, B, C, D and D? Now what is the probability of A? It is not having any parent, P of A. What is the probability of B? B is also not having any parent, then P of B. What is the probability of D? Now probability of D depends on what? It depends on the value of A as well as value of C. So probability of D equal to D by A and C. What is the probability of C? C is having only incoming arc from the B, so P is equal to C by B. Then what is the probability of E? E value depends on the D, so probability of E is equal to E by D. Then what is the total sum probability A, B, C, D, E is equal to probability of A, P of A into P of B into P of C by B into P of D by AC into P of E by D. So let us take one more Bayesian belief network. So where D is dependent on C, C is dependent on B and B is dependent on A. Means B is a child of A, C is a child of B, D is a child of C, or A is the ancestor of B and A is a parent of B. Okay, so now what is the total probability? This is not having any parent, so it is P of A. What is the probability of this? P of B by A. What is the probability of this? P of C by A. What is the probability of this? P of D by C. So now here you see again, what is the probability of E? It is not having any parents, P of E. What is the probability of F? It is having a value from E, P of F by E. What is the value of this? P of G by E. Now H is having two parents. It is having dependencies from F and G. So P of H by F comma G. So what is the total probability P of E, F, G and H? That is equal to P of E into P of F by E into P of G by E into P of H by F comma G. Let us take an example of a Bayesian belief network for a burglar alarm installed at home. So let us take an alarm is installed at a home to determine a burglary. So whenever there is a burglar entering into the home, so it represents an alarm. Okay, so now it is fairly reliable at detecting burglary, but also sometimes respond to minor work risks. So now there are two conditions over here. Now this alarm, whatever it is designed, this alarm is taking two inputs. One input is detecting the burglary, and sometimes the alarm also represents to minor earthquakes. Okay, so now the person who has installed this alarm is having two neighbors. One is Ali and another neighbor is Willie, who promise to call you at work when they hear an alarm. So when you are not in the home and a burglary happens at your home, then Ali and Willie have promised you that they will call you when there is an alarm. So now what Ali does? Ali always calls when he has the alarm. Whenever there is an alarm, he calls the person who has installed the alarm, but sometimes he confuses telephone ringing with alarm and calls too. Even though when there is no alarm, sometimes he takes telephone rings as the alarm ringing, confuses and calls the person. Willie likes loud music and sometimes misses the alarm. So now Willie in his home, he always plays loud music, because of which he is not able to hear the alarm. Because of that, sometimes he misses the alarm. So now, given the evidence of who has or who has not called, we would like to estimate the probability of burglary. So now every node here, so alarm is a child. So alarm is taking input from two things. One is from the burglary and another is from earthquake. Based on either the input from the burglar or from the earthquake, the alarm rings. Now, based on the alarm rings, either Ali calls or Willie calls. What is now? There is some probability associated with each of these nodes. So note, burglary is having one probability, earthquake is also having a probability, alarm is also having a bit of probability, Ali calls or no, it is also having a probability, Veli calls or no, it is also having a probability. So B equal to T. What is this? Burglary happens. What is its probability? 0.001. And burglary equal to false. False. So 0.99 times. Burglary does not have. What is probability? 0.999. Earthquake equal to 2. What is its probability given? 0.002. Earthquake equal to false most of the times. 0.998. Now, this both burglary represents, B represents burglary, E represents earthquake. There are 4 combinations of the input. T, T, F, F, T, F, T, F. Both true. T, F, like this is like 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. Okay, so what is the probability of P of A equal to T? Alarm equal to true is 0.95 and both, either when both burglar and earthquake is true, and alarm equal to false when both are true is 0.05. Alarm does not ring even any one of these conditions is satisfied. Alarm equal to true is 0.95 when burglary happens is 0.9 for its probability, and false 0.06. Now when burglary has not happened and because of earth alarm is happening, what is its probability? 0.09. Alarm does not happening is 0.71 when both of the conditions are not there. Okay, either we don't have earthquake or either we don't have burglary, then what is the probability? True 0.001 and most of the times it is a false. So now these are the probabilities. Ali calls or Ali does not calls, Veli calls or Veli does not call. So Ali calls equal to true 0.9, 0.10 because the total probability should be 1. So here also you can see total probability 0.95 plus 0.05 1, 0.94 0.06 is 1, 0.29 plus 0.71 is 1, 0.001 0.999 is also 1. So here also the total probability should also be equal to 1. So T 0.0, 0.90 and 0.10 is 1, 0.05 means it should be 0.95. Then what is 0.70? Veli calls equal to true, false is 0.30 and Ali calls equal to false 0.99 and this is 0.01. So this is basic network for burglary alarm example. Okay, so now let us find out what is the probability that alarm has sounded but neither a burglary nor an earthquake has occurred, and both Ali and Veli call. What is the probability? Now Ali and Veli are calling, both of them are calling, but the alarm has made a sound when neither burglary has happened or nor the earthquake has happened. So what is its probability? P equal to Ali calls, Veli calls. Probability of Ali calling and probability of Veli calling. A is what? A is equal to alarm. B, not of B means burglary has not happened. E, earthquake has also not happened. Probability of Ali calling is equal to P is equal to A by C. AC into A. Ali calling with the alarm, Veli calling with alarm probability. Probability of alarm because neither burglary has happened, neither earthquake has happened, or probability of neither burglary has happened nor earthquake has happened. So what is this probability is? AC equal to 0.90. This is Ali calling, its probability is 0.90. Veli calling, what is the probability? 0.70. Okay, what is the probability of earthquake? Which of which both of these are not happening? 0.001. This is okay, and probability of earthquake not happened 0.99. Probability of earthquake has happened 0.998. Probability of burglary has happened 0.999. So 0.99 because burglary has not happened. This is earthquake has not happened. Probability that either probability of getting alarm when neither burglary has happened nor the earthquake is 0.01. Probability of Veli calling after an alarm is 0.70. Probability of Veli calling after alarm is 0.7. Probability of Ali calling with an alarm is 0.90 if you multiply 0.00062. So here this capital letter represents the variables having the value true, and this represents represents negation. So what is the characteristics of Bayesian belief networks? Following are some of the general characteristics of BBN method. BBN provides an approach for capturing the prior of the particular domain using a graphical method. So even graphical method, what we are doing, so using this graphical method, before only we should know what are their probabilities and their dependencies. The network can also be used to encode causal dependencies among the variables. Constructing the network can be time consuming and require large amount of effort. So now, so to construct a network and to find out the probabilities and to based on the probability and based on the dependencies I need to find out. So constructing the network can be time consuming and requires large amount of effort. However, once you build a structure of the network has been determined, adding a new variable is quick, straightforward. Bayesian networks are well suited for dealing with incomplete data. So whenever you have incomplete data based on the probabilities, we can easily calculate. Instances with missing attributes can also be more easily adopted by the Bayesian network and can be handled by summing or integrating the probabilities over all the possible values of the attribute. Because the data is combined probabilistically with prior knowledge, the method is quite robust to model overfitting. So this is all regarding the Bayesian belief networks, and we come to the end of module 4 today. So these are the set of questions, question bank, refer for this. So with this I end today's this video lecture completing the module 4. Thank you one and all.